The Select Board Sewer Commissioners meeting to order. It is 6 p.m. All members, including our new member, present. This meeting is being held virtually in a hybrid setting. It is being recorded by the Town of West Boylston staff. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great job, everyone. Great job so far. All right, the first item on the agenda is public comment. This is a 15-minute period, and it's an opportunity for the public to address any concerns, questions regarding town operations, programs to the board. With the exception in an urgent circumstance, any matter presented for consideration by the board shall not be discussed in detail or acted upon by the board.
I have a couple of words to say. Is it okay?
For public comment, I would just say, will you come down there as a resident then?
No.
No, you don't want, no, do it there, Raj, it's fine. Just say your name and your address and.
It's a general things for everyone, you know. So I would like to thank our town clerk, election workers and town staff for running a smooth and fair election. Your hard work is truly appreciated. To my fellow candidates in the select board race and other town races, thank you for stepping up to serve. And to others who were not elected this time, your efforts still made a difference. I hope you will stay involved. Our town needs you. Thank you to all who voted and supported this process. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? You don't have to raise your hand. You just come up, sit in one of the big seats, name and address.
Mark Frieden, 8 Pinewood Drive. Now that I'm just the public, I just want to congratulate the new people, congratulate for highest votes, and just thank you for the 3 years I spent on the board. That's pretty good. I had a good time. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Here's where it gets dicey. Does anyone online have anything to say? You would need to unmute if you speak. And I need your name and address for the record. Going once. Going twice. All right, I am going to close public comment. So these burns me, so wait a second. All right, the most exciting item on the agenda is a board reorganization. It's the Select Board and Sewer Commissioners reorg. There'd be a vote for chair, vice chair, and clerk.
I have a motion. I make a motion to Christina Pedoni as the chair, me as the vice chair, and I'm not sure whom to nominate clerk. Maybe we'll do it separately.
So there's a motion for me as chair and you as vice chair. Do I have a second?
Can I second?
Okay. Hearing no second, the motion does not carry. Do we have another motion? Or would you like to make another motion? It's up, anyone can do this. I personally, as chair, never motion. Sometimes I will second, but that's only in circumstances of like policy setting.
I would like to nominate Jay as chair.
I second that.
I thought that you were very eloquent and well-spoken to the town in helping them come around to the idea that the core services that we pay for in this town are worth fighting and keeping. And I thought that was really a good trait for a leader, to be able to bring people that were on the fence around to your perspective and to help them move forward. So
I appreciate the vote of confidence, truly I do. I really have to be Sherman-esque about this. I'm not going to run, and I'm not going to serve if elected. I do not want the chair. So
Yeah, we have a motion.
we have a motion, so please vote your conscience, but I'm really not interested. My vote is no.
Raj?
My vote is yes.
No.
David?
As the gentleman does not want it, no.
Vanessa?
No.
You can't believe I'm voting against you. No, I'm sorry, and it's only because you're saying no.
I-
I need you to know this.
Truly, I appreciate the vote of confidence, I do. But I really don't want the position. Thank you, though.
Okay, let's start with,
I would
maybe
like,
a motion for clerk. Maybe we'll start bottom up and approach it that way, if anyone's okay. Or we'll sit.
I'll make a motion for Mr. Ashwell to be clerk.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Raj?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Mark. Jay? I'm a yes.
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 See, he accepted that, okay?
Accepted that.
Okay, so we've marked one down. Vice chair.
I like to make still me as a vice chair, considering, many years of the work as a selectman. I still consider myself as a chair. May I make a motion to be chair?
To make chair or vice chair?
My vice chair.
Vice chair? Do you have a second?
I'm going to second that.
Okay. Discussion? Let's just go smoother. Okay, I'm gonna start down this.
No.
No.
Nessa? Gonna say yes?
I think I should say no.
Raj?
This is disgusting.
Okay. Is there another motion on the floor?
Vanessa is vice chair?
I'll second that.
Further discussion? Starting down the other end of the table, Raj?
No.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I actually didn't see it being this contentious for some reason. All right.
I'll make a motion for Christina to be chair.
Second.
Just want to note that this will be the last year, because I am not rerunning. So just to say that to you folks. Raj,
No.
Yes.
Vanessa,
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Do you have all of those votes? It's recorded too. All right, the next item is review and vote to approve warrants for the period covering May 22nd, 2025 through June 4th, 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve the warrants as listed in the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting minutes, February 19th, 2025, executive session meeting minutes not for a release.
I'll make a motion to approve the February 19th, 2025 executive session minutes, not for release.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none? Aye.
Aye.
Any negatives? Any noes? Roger, you as a yes or a no?
Yes.
Okay. Next item is to designate a select board assignment for 2025 to 2026. So these are, there's a member of the select board on these different committees. Some of them don't meet very often. I would prefer, so I just say to the board, knowing where I stand, I have to be on the bylaw committee. I would prefer that the other committees I not be part of as people are transitioning and new learning about the different boards and committees, and they start kind of getting exposed to these different areas. So affordable housing, does anyone have any strong beliefs on which ones they want to be on? And I
do.
can start kind of there.
I do. I would like to be on the townwide planning committee.
that
I'm
because they don't meet?
It's because I was the one who got the 12 members going and started organizing it.
Okay. Any other,
I am interested in CMRPC and PEG board,
Peg?
unless if somebody wants.
I'll continue with the Affordable Housing Trust and the Economic Development Task Force.
I'm writing names, it doesn't mean they have it, I'm just kind of writing the notes of the names, so. How about the earth removal board? Have they ever met? I know I try to get, they do. At least once a year.
I can take that.
All right, so,
So the transportation is not grabbed yet, so
all right,
sure. I don't believe anyone called out the,
building one? There's a building committee and a upper Blackwater pollution abatement district alternate? No one does it.
so I'll take the water pollution one.
Okay,
I was on municipal before, I can do it again. Municipal buildings. No,
no,
affordable.
that, yeah, it
That's
has to be the
Christine.
chair. All right, so Affordable Housing Trust, we have Jay. Anyone feel strongly? I actually, Jay, I was going to, recommend that maybe, knowing that you have 1 year left, maybe that one, I know, David, you had shown interest during the election on affordable housing and open space. I didn't know if that was a passion you might have. Not that I'm undercutting us, but we're on our
That's fine.
last leg here.
I'm happy to take it up then.
You would,
Yes.
do you have a problem with, okay, just, I'm thinking it could be like a good exposure. I'm so excited about being on bylaw committee. Earth removal will be Raj, economic development, Jay, building committee, Vanessa, townwide planning, Vanessa, I don't know why I put David, sorry. Transportation committee, David, PEG board, Raj, CMRPC, Raj, upper Blackstone Water Pollution Abatement District, David. And if you ever have a meeting, I just want to know, because I just want to see what they do.
I will record it for you.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve all of the things I just listed?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, too bad. No, I wanted to skip that one. Approval of authorized signatures for fiscal year 2026. So this is a motion for, no, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve any select board member to be the authorized signatory.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, exciting news, which I think is unfair, but David will get to experience. This is our summer schedule, which is supposed to be a lighter schedule of meetings. It hasn't worked out in 4 years, but we're gonna try that. So, meetings to be held in July and August, because I imagine you guys like to do something besides sit in every 2-week meetings. Now, keep in mind, emergencies, there always is a need for a meeting at some point in time or something signed, but this is to pick some dates. I think we should have it on July 4th. Where does that fall this year? Friday. Awesome. Let's do it Friday at 6. No.
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 All opposed?
All opposed, okay. So, you know what? Then, do you have dates that you are thinking? Not that I'll agree with any of them. July 2nd?
July 2nd is the one time I can't do.
July 2nd?
It's the one Wednesday I can't do.
You want to just stick to your schedule, just do the third Wednesday of both months?
So the 16th?
No.
And the 13th?
I don't know, they're whispering. I'm trying to hear it, but it's the 16th and the 20th.
I can't
Oh,
do
wait,
the
no.
20th, but I can do the
20th, yeah,
16th
sorry,
and the
it's
13th.
20th.
On the July meeting?
You know what? I'm gonna skip this one. You guys, we'll come back to it. Is that, no?
Let's do the 9th.
Can that be attended via Zoom as a member?
I was just gonna say, if we stick to the July 2nd, we'll meet the end of year transfer deadline.
Okay.
But we could have that be a special meeting just to do the reserve
Transfer.
And it can be virtual.
And that can be
among
Zoom.
the three of you, and then you could pick 2 dates for regular meetings, if that's acceptable.
You're good with that?
I'll be in a remote spot, but I'll try to get my Zoom working.
Well, if you can't go, we can go, we will be
This is
okay.
true. Very true.
All right, so,
I think we're only looking at three votes that night anyway.
all right, so July 2nd.
For a special Zoom.
And then August, do we want to do, well, it would technically be August 6th or the 20th, either one of those dates. You said no for the 20th.
Right.
How about the 6th?
Of August.
Yep,
Fine.
fine.
So your only meeting in July would be the 2nd? I was
She was
proposing
proposing a special meeting, but
that would be just to deal with your end of year transfers and that you would have a regular meeting in July, but
I guess I should ask you a question. Are you planning on doing anything in July that we would need to meet more?
the wrong answer to that is no. Of course, we'll be doing lots of things. So we can leave it with no other meeting, and as we move through June, I would
Let's-
know better.
Yeah, I would say if we move through June, we'll meet again. If we need to schedule one, we will.
Okay.
But we're gonna wind up meeting. There's no other way. Something will happen that will,
Can I just give an opinion?
you can give.
So last year, we met the middle Wednesdays of both months, and I feel like that was a good time because that kind of like encompassed everything, and then we were not really so staggered, because we meet the 2nd and then another whole month later. I don't know, that's just my, I mean, obviously we have to meet the 2nd Zoom, but I would propose we also meet July 16th and August 13th.
I don't actually care. So July 2nd and July 16th. And then August 6th. Raj, you're good with that?
Yeah.
Good, I'm good. You're good, you're good?
Sure.
Last chance, okay. All right. I'm gonna move on to a special part of the meeting, which is acknowledge and review and discuss the open meeting law complaint from John Clifford, and votes may be taken. Guessing this is mine, right? Okay, as chair, I want to acknowledge the receipt of an open meeting law complaint that was circulated to members in advance for discussion of this meeting. As chair, I will discuss the allegations of the complaint generally, or read it to the record. Members then can review the draft prepared by town council, confirming factual representation made in the response and any revisions needed. And then thereafter, vote to issue a response consistent with the board's discussion at the meeting and approve the draft prepared by council along with any additions by the board, and authorize the town administrator to send the response to the complainant and the Division of Open Government, and a copy of the OML has been distributed to the board members. So, I'm just gonna ask you, before I get started, Phil, we have a member that wasn't present. Would we have that person vote, or would they abstain from the vote since they weren't part of it? They have read it though, so I'm speaking for him as if he has read it, but how would this work?
It would be my recommendation that his vote is included as a member of your board taking action tonight.
Okay,
my understanding is that if you read the information, you can vote on it. My personal practice has been to vote present on items that I haven't been party to, but
Yeah.
that's personal practice.
that's fine with me. I just figured I'd give you kind of an option if you felt uncomfortable. I'm gonna go through just what we have here. So there are public records requests for minutes from February 13th, 2025, February 18th, 2025, February 19th, 2025, and March 5th, 2025, for select board meetings, including executive session meeting minutes. The town responded to Attorney Clifford on May 9th, 2025, providing the minutes of February 18th, regular session, February 18th, executive session, and draft minutes of February 19th, regular session. We replied again on May 28th, providing the approved February 19th regular session and March 5th regular session minutes. We have not produced the executive session minutes for February 19th or March 5th, as those minutes were approved by the board but not released. The meeting on February 13th was canceled, and then no meetings existed. At that time, the town has complied with the public records request, and the Attorney General's office has been notified no further action by this board is necessary. Is there anything else that we would like to say?
So can I ask a general question?
Yep.
So this is an attorney asking for particular incidents. So he needs the executive session minutes, right? So can we, I know that we did vote it not to release, but do we have to release it and give it to him? This is a general question.
No.
No,
We don't have to.
no. So there were several executive session minutes that you approved and that town council redacted, and therefore you voted to release them. So he has received 2 sets of executive session minutes that were requested, that you approved to release the redacted form of. The minutes that you have voted for the February 19th executive session and the March 5th executive session, you have voted not to release those. But to the point, neither of the subject matter, the subject matter of neither of those minutes were related
So this issue.
to the client.
Okay,
Attorney
thank you.
Clifford.
That makes sense.
They were other issues that are still not resolved, so therefore we're not releasing them.
Okay.
Minutes that pertain to the subject have been released,
Okay,
if
thank
that
you.
tracks.
Through the chair to Heather, the minutes that have not been released, upon release, do we send those to comply with this request, or is that,
Yes.
okay, so this remains open pending the release of those minutes?
Right.
Got it.
But
And we'll work to wrap up both of those subjects so that those minutes can be released.
okay.
All right. So the request in front of the board is a vote to authorize the town administrator to respond to the complaint and send what was drafted by town council.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion on what was drafted? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. All right. So the next item on the agenda was an item that I had asked to be put on. I know we have a new member. Heather has been with us, it seems like 2 years, but actually it's only been like 45 days. We've done a lot in that short period of time, but this was an item, as in the contract, we had a 90-day probational period, and it gave an opportunity to the board now to talk about what's working, what's not working, have any discussion, and also maybe Heather give us some talks about what's working for her and what's not working. I'm guessing talking to all of us probably isn't working. But this is just a quick period of time to have that kind of conversation. I'll give you mine, all right? I think you came in to a sticky situation with town meeting. For the first time in 30 years, we had an override pass. I think that there's a lot of stuff that is happening all at once, and an election, and a ballot vote, and a reorganization. So I'd say, I think all of that kind of, we survived it, you survived it, you left town hall, we all kind of survived it. I think on the outside of that is kind of, I think over the next period of time is getting to know the town, doing the walk through like the fields and the different buildings, and maybe taking a breath and seeing some of the local restaurants, and engaging with the different levels of the community that maybe don't get to town hall, because you probably see the same faces that come here. I can picture who they are, and that's who you get to see. I would say, and my only thought is, we're doing, the board, I asked to do this now, but to review these policies that are there, because I think that is important and winds up being a challenge if, I mean, I learned a lot about reading some of these policies, but I would just say a little bit, that's my only feedback is now, I think maybe you have a little bit of window of time of like getting to do the good stuff that you normally would have if you didn't run into a town that's in the middle of an override and town meeting. That's my 2 cents.
My 2 cents are not wholly dissimilar. I think you came into a very untenable situation. You've made the best of it. I was impressed with your presentation at town meeting. I did not expect that, but it spoke to the heart of the matter, and I certainly appreciated that, because at the end of the day, I think that comports with my understanding of why my votes were the way they were. So I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that you show up this week after having gone through the gauntlet. Having come through the other side, you still showed up, so that's bonus points too. I appreciate the fact that you engaged with us at a time where a lot of folks may not have been so interested to engage with us. Saw that as the opportunity it was. I think each and every one of us here on this board believes that this is a great town with a lot of potential. And it's heartening to see that you felt the same way enough to take a risk on us as well. So that's my feedback.
I mean, I don't really have a whole lot more to add. I'm grateful that you're here. I think you've done a great job stepping right in. I would say just going forward, maybe just don't be afraid to, get your feet wet a little bit more and just reach out to us if you need to. I guess my only question would be, is the communication between the board and yourself adequate? Are you looking for more, less? I don't know, what you need as, a new town administrator to our town.
So I can respond by saying that the past 2 months, or almost 2 months, I have sincerely appreciated the autonomy and the ability to put my head down and do the work. And I know that that was a huge trust factor for all of you. And it doesn't go unacknowledged or unrecognized that by letting me do that was probably very scary. I hope that I was able to deliver on that, and I think that, we've talked about sort of making it through, and I do look very much to lifting my head from the work and getting to know the community, getting to spend a little bit more time talking with you all one-on-one and hearing about what your goals are. I know that we've talked about a goal-setting session maybe at the August meeting. There's lots more to learn about the community, and you are my ambassadors to the community, and so I certainly look forward to putting you to work in that capacity.
I'm going to defer to the new members to go to work now.
Understood.
I do have a few things to say. I did get some few feedbacks, a few comments from the town residents. So while I was talking to them, so they said, this is their words, not my words. They said you are personable, you are easy to approach. They do like you. I do echo the same thing. So I think you will do well in this town, in these situations. So I have only good thing to say about you.
Thank you, Raj.
Thank you.
Well, now the hard one. I mean, in the 1 hour of your meeting.
Yeah. The 22
22
hours that I've been, No, we had a chance to speak earlier today. I thought it was a good, productive conversation, and I applaud you and Chair for tackling our recent trash blunder with Republic, and I thought that we took what was a stinky situation, no pun intended, and tried to right it for the residents as quickly as possible. And one thing that was, I said to you as well, that was said to me numerous times while meeting folks around town, is that they felt like there's often points in time where the town in the past years has allowed contractors maybe too easily off the hook when services were not rendered to their fullest. And this is, in my opinion, a basic example of that. That they had an agreement to pick up the trash was not picked up. You all found the solution and made sure that the vendor was still on the hook. So I think that's the type of simple, logical steps that make sure that the town feels like we're spending their money well, and that we're making sure the services are kept high. So that's, I think, an easy win from a bad situation.
Thank you. Now the hard one. So now we put you in a different place. You get to give us feedback, and I think you should, because that, or we'll keep doing whatever it is that we're doing moving forward. Some of us are probably gonna do that anyways, but I think, how has it been? What can, I know you can't really say much, but pretend.
I think it's very, very obvious that the select board is wholly invested in their community. And past member as well, working with Mark, was you all approach the job very differently, and it provides such a good balance for the board. I think that is probably my biggest takeaway, is sort of understanding how each of you want to serve your community and how I can, you know, make that happen, how I can support you as you do that. So it's a continued learning curve. I think, to Vanessa's point, I think that there's certainly room for improvement with my communication skills with all of you. And again, I'm not using it as an excuse, but I did feel that we had a job that needed to be done that required my focus with staff. And I think to that point, I think I've really had a good opportunity to assess your staff, particularly those in the town hall, and you know, it's really a remarkable group. You promised me that I had a great team, and you certainly delivered. So I've been able to get out and see the town DPW garage and the fire station, and obviously the senior center. I do want to circle back to your feasibility study. That was certainly something that was put on the back burner as we approached town meeting and the election. Being in those buildings and seeing the condition of those buildings makes it very real why you did the feasibility study. So I want to make sure that we're getting back on that. And yeah, I think really just meeting more of the residents and making sure that I'm as accessible to them as I am, you know, as I can possibly be. And now that the weather's nice, I've 3 walks? Yeah, 3 times outside of the
Be
building.
careful, they'll stop and talk to you while
Well, that's
walking
okay.
or running. They will
That's
stop
okay.
and tell you
That's
about
okay.
internet, trash, and what they read online.
Understood.
Running is particularly favored, though, because that means they have to keep up with.
Right. And they have to be able to articulate
While running, yeah.
while running. Yeah, understood. Good tip.
All right, well, we'll keep this on for the next 90 days. And, you know, during that, we all talk to you. I'm good with direct feedback, so you could just
Yeah.
text me and tell me to leave you alone. All right, next item, I'm gonna skip over, or do we want to discuss the termination of the agreement again?
No, so what you had signed previously was the intent to terminate. So the
Yep.
document that they forwarded was the actual document. It does require a select board signature, so I put it on the agenda.
Okay.
However, since we had a sort of a follow-up meeting with Grafton and Shrewsbury, and we all agreed that we would rather our select boards not sign it yet until we get a full budget accounting of the current grant. There's, Shrewsbury and Grafton certainly have more experience with this program than I do, and we're talking about the intermunicipal agreement that we have with the City of Worcester for public health services. They feel that there may actually be money on the table that would be due back to the communities, and so until, and the agreement that you had in front of you stipulates that we would be paying them.
Okay.
So let's put a pause on that and get a budget from them before we sign off that we owe them anything.
I'm completely fine with that. The next is a citation for Iron Strong Muay Thai Academy. Is this, I feel like this one's been open for a little while. Is this near
It's their
Brown Rise?
anniversary. It's their 1-year anniversary, not their opening. Do you want me to present?
You know you're in the audience, so I wouldn't acknowledge you, but I would say, so I have a question to the town administrator. Do we normally hand out citations for 1 year in business to businesses? I'm not saying that we don't, but due to the first, a few weeks ago, where none of us could attend an open house or the grand opening, I'm just worried we're gonna miss a 1 year, or we're gonna have to do 30 of these in next month. I think it's great, but I know we're gonna get in trouble on social media because someone didn't get 1 year.
So my understanding in this particular situation,
Yep.
and again, not everything has to be precedent setting.
Okay.
My understanding was that we did not have a ribbon cutting when there was a grand opening, or there was no grand opening for this particular business. So this would be what could be
A
considered
recognition.
a makeup for that. We would acknowledge that we are not going to do anniversaries,
Citation.
citations in every circumstance. I think this one is unique, and again, we don't have to make it a precedent.
Okay.
If it pleases the board, I mean, it's your citation.
I am okay with this one. I just know this came from economic development a few years ago, and it was like, wouldn't it be great if we did this? And then somehow the select board now owns it, and I'm just thinking this will turn into an online social media war, why we didn't like this business over that one, or we missed an anniversary. So,
Is the intent to the town administrator, is the is the intent to pick more significant anniversary dates, 10 years, 20 years in business in town, like the more core businesses that have anchored in, is that? or-
well, so it originally started on economic development and was, because we didn't do any kind of social blast, so the select board didn't really show up, and it was a way to
Hopefully
say, hey,
bolster the
right,
business.
we're going, we support you, we're happy you're here, and we still do that. We still do the grand open ribbon cutting. So I'm thinking, from what I just heard, this is in place of that, because we didn't do that, and I'm guessing table 12 also, we didn't do one of those. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. So this is kind of, if I'm answering David's question right, this is kind of in place of not doing, we didn't do the grand opening one.
Just point of clarification, did we not do a grand opening, or was there not a grand opening held for us to actually,
Or we weren't invited.
or we weren't invited, so.
We don't know the answer.
I can't answer that, unfortunately, sorry.
Mark thinks it didn't happen.
Didn't happen? Oh,
As-
not acknowledging Mark right now.
As I recall, that's,
My feeling is, this is a business, it's in our town, it's a piece of paper, we acknowledge them. So
No.
we don't have to discuss this long for this, that's how I feel. Let's give it to them.
I'm completely fine. I just wanted to make sure we're not next meeting, or I'm calling you guys for a special meeting to
Yeah,
sign 50
it's-
papers.
yeah, it's not an issue of not granting this. It's
All right.
just an issue of
So let's take a vote.
making sure that we're appropriately caring for
And consistent.
everybody else.
I agree. So this is a motion to sign the citation for the
So
1 year
moved.
anniversary. Do I have a
Second.
second? Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No? All right, we're not gonna sign this because you're gonna redo it and take off selectmen. All right. All right, so the next item on our agenda is the draft policy for emergency call-in inspection fee policy. So there was a link here. I'm very thankful for the detail and effort put into this. I know.
That's a face.
I know it's a phase to say one thing. I've been doing this for 4 years, and some of the things that have caught me are all around ownership, management, and approval, right? So this says that on call, so in a state of an emergency to me is there's a fire, there's water damage, there's an emergency situation, not, hey, they want to do it Friday at 6 or Saturday morning at 10 or after hours on Tuesday. Those to me are not an emergency situation. And then my second one is a person that is authorized to approve the $200 that we don't collect from the other person, town residents, taxpayers have to pay for it, could be the building department or the town administrator. That to me leaves a gray variable area that now, in a year from now, someone goes, I can't believe you overspent, Christina, by $1,200 in emergency calls, and I'm asking dumb questions like, can you give me the report of what emergency calls were approved by who, what time was it, and I'm reviewing them somehow because now I own them. I'm saying this because this has little gray in it, and gray always burns me, personally. So I'm just gonna say, everything else I really liked.
So just under definitions, I think the attempt is to address your first concern.
Yep.
That second sentence, not including an inspection associated with or scheduled under the normal permit process. So if this is a case where an inspector is unable to meet a 9 to 5, 8 to 3, whatever the
Yep.
schedule is, that would be precluded. This is truly for an emergency circumstance that is outside of the regular permit process, where no permit would exist or could exist because of the nature of the call.
I love the definitions. How about the approval of money? Because at the end of the day, it all comes down to money and management of it. This would be something that the building commissioner department, that person is authorized to spend that money with oversight from you, or are we just saying whoever's first can approve overage?
I think that the way I interpret this is that I am the approver. The documentation would be submitted to me for approval, and that documentation includes that they responded to the emergency, what time that they received the assignment, time of arrival on site, time that the on-site inspection was completed and they left, and then a summary of what they did when they were there, and that based on that information, I would authorize the payment of.
All right.
But if there's a way to make that more clear, then but that is certainly the intention. I'm not leaving this to the building inspector to approve their own emergencies.
Okay.
I guess is certainly not my intent.
Okay, I just want to make sure it's not something where it's August and we find out there's $1,000 and we're having an emergency meeting to move money because we didn't.
Right.
Okay.
And I think that when we looked at the number of calls in a calendar year, I think there were 4.
Okay.
So this is certainly not a regular occurrence, but I do think that the inspectors, if they're going to be asked to leave their homes in the middle of the night because there's an emergency, and if it's our continued expectation that we will only compensate them through the permit process, that there is a gap there.
I was fine with it,
Permission to ask a question?
go ahead.
Do we have a list of the root causes of the emergencies that were done in the past year. For, as Chair sort of alluded to, a pipe burst, there was a fire. If we have those root causes and or a list of ones that are sort of the routine ones in the past, and we're concerned of if we're concerned that people will question the logic for why we approved it, if we have a list of things that sort of automatically qualify you for that inspection, there was a fire, there was water damage that we now need to make sure the building is still structurally sound or what have you, does that help sort of streamline that process of, oh, well, there was a fire, so we obviously had to have the inspector say the building is still habitable before we allow people back in for safety reasons, and we just sort of, it just sort of gives us a little bit more of a definition of this had to be done without having to walk through the explanations, because we've predefined why we need it.
Well, I think we can predefine the ones that we know about.
Oh, right, and then that's based on prior examples that
Yeah,
maybe have shown up more than
absolutely.
once.
And so would you recommend that we sort of include those example circumstances in the policy? Is that helpful?
Right, and
Well, this is say maybe for, but like this, maybe not in the policy, but just for informational purposes, maybe to the board, like maybe you could just send kind of some examples of what it's been. I'm just thinking 4 would be 200 apiece, you know what I mean? If we see 16 next year, or we see that double, then we have some gauges of, is this something we need to account for? Because in the absence of policy, right?
Right.
You don't get paid. But when we put in policy, it's funny how things start to increase. So I would say as a caution, no policy means no pay. I don't think we shouldn't pay them, but I'd like to say that should be something maybe we review every year to say, okay, we were at 4 last year, and next year we're at 16. And then I'd go, well, that tells me that doesn't feel warm and fuzzy. That's now well, now we have a policy, so let's do that.
One of the, to speak to that, one of the items that we had was that it was a 4-hour minimum, and based upon conversation with former select board member Mark, he suggested that it be per event, that we get rid of that 4-hour minimum and just say per event.
Yep.
So that does remove some of the gray area where, okay, I was there for 5 hours, do I get another $200 because I was there for 5 hours? So
That's my concern.
Right. So, and I also think that it's very beneficial that you do have a policy review process.
Yep.
So that we have a built-in mechanism to review this. We can do it annually, but we could also come back.
The last line.
Oh, the last line is, this policy will be reviewed when requested by the building department or after an event necessitating emergency inspections if needed or as needed by the select board. So in addition to your policy on
Well,
policy,
see, listen.
you also have it built into this particular document.
I love it. I just would say,
Yeah.
all right, so at this point, I'd entertain a motion to schedule a public hearing for the adoption of the new policy for emergency call-in inspection fee.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. All right, appointments and resignations. So the select board is going to appoint Heather Butler, I don't know if we've met her, to the ADA coordinator concurrent with her employment contract effective June 1st, 2025.
I'll make a motion to appoint Heather Butler as the ADA coordinator effective June 1st, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
I just
Aye.
have one quick question, sorry. I just curious, is there I just don't know this answer. Is there anything that comes along with this? Like, do you need to learn something new to be considered this? Is it something you already have, or is it just like a?
So it's common in municipalities that your town administrator is your default ADA coordinator. As your ADA coordinator, I would be responsible for receiving any complaints or concerns from residents or business owners or visitors to your community about ADA. I am your liaison to your ADA commission, and it is my charge to uphold your transition plan. So those are the sort of primary functions as your ADA coordinator. There are regular trainings, which I would certainly, you know, there's some common sense that is part of the position, but there are also some nuances that I think are always changing. And your ADA, you're actually very fortunate that you have an ADA committee. Not all towns can support that, and so I think that's very beneficial. So much like I support the five of you, I am in this role. I am there to support them and make sure that their goals are being achieved. So
Thank you.
Yep.
yeah.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. All right, the next item, the town administrator report.
Oh, can we appoint Mr. Fitzpatrick to the
No,
Board of
town
Assessors?
administrator appointment of Dennis Fitzpatrick to the Board of Assessors for a term to expire April 30th, 2028. This was a holdover for an April appointment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, now do you want to do your town administrator?
I do,
report?
I do.
All right, go for it.
I'll be brief. So on behalf of the town, we applied for 3 specific grant opportunities this week. The first is a annual reoccurring grant. It's your recycling dividends program. The town receives funding, approximately $9,000 per year from the Department of Environmental Protection for your recycling efforts. Those are efforts from residents, from the town, the Wachusett Watershed Regional Recycling Center. We use these funds to cover bulky waste day, hazardous waste day, any swap mailers, and sort of non-collection solid waste activities. It's not a large sum of money, but it allows us to do some programming that we don't have to raise and appropriate through taxation. The second grant, speaking of the ADA, the reason that I asked for the coordinator's assignment at this particular meeting is we are requesting $60,000 from the Municipal ADA Improvement Grant Program to build an accessible walkway from the cemetery side of the town common that would access bandstand seating as well as the portable bathroom facilities. This project was identified by your ADA committee, and in the ADA transition plan, it has been endorsed by your Public Works and also obviously by your ADA committee. So we'll put that grant application through. And then finally, we're applying for a $1 million grant award through the MassWorks Infrastructure Grant Program to design and engineer and reconstruct approximately 1,500 feet of Woodland Street starting at 112. It would be our intention to install sidewalk, address stormwater and drainage concerns, and to work with the utilities, including MLP, water, sewer, to improve and or relocate utilities necessary to accommodate that sidewalk. I would anticipate that this would be the first phase of several phases in order to be able to bring that sidewalk and road work at least down to the park area. I know that the park has some drainage issues, and as you work towards, as the Parks Commission and CPC works towards their goals for the park, this would work in coordination to make sure that the town's infrastructure side is adequate and that the improvements are made to support any work at the park. So those are the grant activities, probably for the month of June. And any questions or concerns or
I have something to say. So we do have a while ago, we started with a complete street policy.
Yep.
So we do have the complete street policy with that. So couple of
town administrators ago.
Nancy was here. She did work on it, we did get some money.
Mm-hmm.
So we should be still able to get money from that grant. So can you explore it, please?
I will.
That's a CMRPC should be able to help you.
Yeah, and the Complete Streets and MassWorks program usually work very well together. They dovetail nicely
Yeah.
because Complete Streets, their awards are not as high as MassWorks, but they offer good supplemental funding towards things like the sidewalks. So.
Any money is good
yeah,
money for me.
That's a great idea, Raj. Thank you.
All right,
And I
have
just,
on yours?
well, I just want to talk trash real
Well,
quick.
one question on the map. Do you have tentative timeframes for when you know the award dates for these are, and we'll know whether we are successful or not?
My anticipation is that we would know early fall on the ADA and the MassWorks, with the idea that design would, the design and engineering of both projects as appropriate, would happen over the winter with construction next spring.
Okay.
And then the RDA or RDP would be probably within a few weeks. They generally turn that around pretty quickly.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So I did contact the Republic account representative last night. He was probably right along with many of us waiting by the phone to hear the news. We spoke this afternoon. We're going to work on a contract that would obviously provide curbside trash for the next 5 years. We intend to look at it in 2 phases. One would be an initial 1-year agreement that brings us to the point of the contract where we know that we'd have to transition to carts. And that would also be a segue for this board, the finance committee, and obviously town meeting to determine how trash, the expense of the trash is handled going forward. So we obviously have our work cut out for us in the next 12 months, but I wanted to let the board know that I wasted 0 time reaching out and making sure that that contract is moving forward. And then finally, speaking of the trash and the stinky situation, I just wanted to offer a thank you to the Department of Public Works for stepping up on Sunday to collect the remaining trash left uncollected by Republic on Friday afternoon. I've spoken with the team at Republic, and they acknowledge they had a series of operational and equipment failures as well as some communication breakdown. It was unfortunate, and I am appreciative that our team stepped up to make sure that people's properties front yards were cleaned up as they got ready for summer cookouts and graduation activities. The cost of the overtime, I know, has been a subject of conversation in the community. It was approximately $975 for 2 employees to work approximately, on average, about 5.5 hours. We do have a written commitment from Republic that they will reimburse the town for that full cost. And I appreciate that Republic recognized that this was not a West Boylston problem, but a Republic problem. So that is all I have.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
How many streets they cleaned? 5.5 hours?
I don't know the exact number. I think it was about 8 or 9 streets that did not, that they were unable
So
to
this
get
is the
to.
one time, right? We are not going to do the same collection on whenever they misses the collection, or are we going to do it?
Well, what I'd like to do is address that in the new contract. Yeah, that what is going to be our, first of all, we need a designated contact on the weekends. I think that one of the bigger problems that we had was that there was no communication on Friday when they realized, if they realized, that they were not going to be able to complete pickup. That was not conveyed to the town, that there was, we knew on Thursday that there was a problem, but we didn't realize, we weren't informed on Friday that they still hadn't finished their routes. So that's one area where communication broke down. And then, once it was brought to our attention, thank you to the board members that reached out, we didn't have a designated contact for the weekend. So we were really relying on staff that had, for lack of a better term, random Republic contacts in their cell phones. It was really very challenging to find a responsible party on the Republic side. So I think that's an area that we really want to make sure that we're addressing in the new contract, is what, we recognize that there's equipment and operational failures, but what do we do when that happens? So TBD, but certainly on my radar. And in a way, I hate to say that there's a silver lining, but this would not have been on my radar to fix if we had not had a problem with the trash on the weekend,
Yeah.
and an important weekend.
I think this is not a brand new problem. We had the problems,
Yeah.
we did shout it at them, so they tried to fix it, but this is a, reoccurring problems. It's not the first time.
But I recognize that, and I do not anticipate on deploying Public Works every Sunday. That's not going to happen. I think that this was an unusual circumstance, and we tried to address a problem that before it became a bigger problem. And I think it did have a good resolution, but I'd like to address it through the contract rather than making it up as we go along going forward.
May I? Sorry, I didn't mean to
This will
interrupt.
be the longest meeting. I was like, I really
No,
thought.
I just really wanted to get out, before it gets lost, I just want to make sure that we, acknowledge and appreciate the fact that we had a couple folks willing to come out on a Sunday. For sure, time and a half is lovely, but the fact of the matter is you still don't have to do it. So there's some commitment there that should be acknowledged for sure.
I'm fine with that. I would say this is the first time I have ever known DPW to go out and get trash. I received quite a few calls that I was abusing the spend of their money. It is not normal practice, and I think that if it becomes normal practice, we should bring that back here, because that could get expensive quick. And we have limited resources in that department, so I'd hate to see them working 7 days a week to collect trash, and we're paying that much money in trash. It's my only,
Yeah.
2 cents.
If I did not have a strong understanding
Yeah.
through my account rep at Republic that they would
Cover.
I would not have authorized it. I didn't have it in writing on Sunday, but the conversation that I did have led me to believe that they were aware they had dropped the ball and would do what they needed to do to make it right.
But
I
there-
am not a fan of overtime for.
So if I can ask on the contract, in some of the industries I've worked, there are sort of scaling consequences for service providers that fail to meet their obligations. And I don't know, this is maybe more of a question for the SWAT team, which unfortunately is not here tonight, but do we have any examples that you all can look into before we sign the contract, that if other towns have some type of provisions in there to make sure that it becomes more painful for Republic if they were to have that repeated incidents happen, to sort of motivate them to make sure it doesn't happen?
So what we're looking for is a service level agreement. I
Is
know we chatted about it before, but getting them to tie down to response, resolution, and communication in their contract.
Absolutely. I think that that's one of the main points. And again, I go back to the circumstances this weekend, although unfortunate, were fortuitous. And we'll use them to our advantage to make sure that the new contract addresses all of these issues. And I'll provide that as a copy for you all to review and make sure that I'm getting your feedback before we put any pen Get the paper.
All right, anything else on your town administrator
That is
report?
not.
All right, so I'm gonna jump to, and Faye, you can look through to see if I skipped over anything. The next item is meeting agenda or announcements. There is a ribbon cutting ceremony at the Mixter Field, June 12th at, I scheduled it, 10 a.m.
You should have a paper on the desk with the four. You might have a piece of paper that has your meetings.
Yep, so there was a ribbon cutting. I'd love it, you know, if the entire select board could attend. I know it's very difficult because we all work and try to get to these things. I believe the Parks Commission has been invited. Mr. O'Day has been invited. Robin Kennedy has been invited, and Clinton Savings Bank has been invited.
And it is
Thursday.
Thursday, 10 a.m. at the field.
I've lost your paper, so now you can tell me what the other 4 items are.
There is a flag retirement activity on Flag Day, which is June 14th at the American Legion Post. You can take it from here.
And my only question, I thought they were closing for a renovation on the bridge. Is it not closing till after?
They have scheduled this around the closing.
The closing, okay, so Saturday, June 14th at 5:30. 1 year anniversary of the Strong Muay Thai Academy. Are they having at 4 p.m., June 18th, are they having an event?
That's the event that you're having your citation.
Okay, and then June 18th, select board meeting. Also, the Prescott Cafe at the West Boylston Senior Center, it's the first time I've ever had it labeled that way, is now serving lunch every Wednesday. Sign up at the Senior Center. Is that for everyone?
No, it's
No.
for seniors.
Okay,
Or special guests.
so Jay, you could go. Okay.
Shots across the bow.
All right, I was just wondering, I'm like, I can't go because I will get yelled at if I walk in and great grandma
Yes,
sees me
yes.
or smash in the middle of the
Yeah,
place.
you only get yelled at if you try to clean up the dishes.
I get yelled at if I try to attend. Faye has seen this firsthand. All right, so that is fantastic. Is the price changed?
It is $7 per meal.
Cash?
Cash
Cash only. All right.
King.
How many people can it fit? Now we've turned into a Q&A. Let me see how many questions. 50. Good answer, Heather. That was great. All right. Next item, any other announcements, agenda items? I'm going to move into agenda items if not. All right, so most of you, I think most of you are, everyone's receiving emails to the select board email distribution list? Yeah, kind of.
I've not fired up the account yet, but I'm positive that it's live because I got the email confirmation, so.
Okay, so I'll go through. So I had some future agenda items that I emailed off because I figured Faye, you'd want them in email. One of them is, there is talk about removing the bylaw around personnel and replacing it with a series of personnel select board policies. We will lose sight of this, I know, so we wanted to put it, we passed over at this meeting. We want to put it on October. So I'd like to get those policies in front of this board to review. I heard there's maybe 11 or 12 of them. So I'd like to get them here in front of us for review. I also have 6 other things, I'm sorry. So high school internship program. We used to have something with the PEG board. That kind of didn't happen anymore, but we have a internship program at the high school. They're working in different places. We have someone working at the high school over in Worcester, doing work for Worcester, you know, during the summer or during the school year, and it's an internship program. During the school year, they get credits. It's not a paid position. So thinking, could we have something here? I know there's a lot of stuff to get done around here. So exploring that. My third item is job descriptions. We had 3 or 4 new created jobs last year that were put up. I'd like to see the jobs descriptions for those and if they've gone through the personnel committee. Website updates. I'd like to know, we kind of all, as we find issues, I think we all send emails to any number of, Faye, you or Heather, or you and Heather, or different folks trying to get things updated. I know there's a lot of pages and a lot of updates, so my thought is, you know, could we have some ownership around this or maintenance perhaps, because I don't want to assign everything to you folks, perhaps maybe assign it to a select board member to review some of these, review kind of the boards, and then put a package together to say, here, this is what we see and this is what needs to be updated. This is future, so you guys don't have to react. Next meeting, you can say you hate it. Email distribution list, in trying to email different boards, there's duplicate. I brought this up to you guys. Maybe we could review them. I'm happy to review them and make sure the right people are getting them on the right boards. An example would CPA or CPC, it wasn't updated, so only like 2 or 3 of them got it versus everyone on the board. And then, so also, now that you've been here 45 days, schedule a select board town administrator goal setting meeting. So typically on an annual basis, the town administrator and the select board will meet on an off cycle, and we sit and we plan out what are our goals as a select board for 12 months, and the town administrator, what are your goals? We talk about it. We sometimes change them based on feedback. And then at the end of the year, we actually review. This is what we set for a goal. This is what we completed or didn't. We do that in an open public session so that the town knows what we're working on and what we've done or what we haven't done, vice versa. For the town administrator, it's a little different. You guys, actually, you have an instrument that you get to use. We probably need one for the select board too. And then there's select board policy ownership and updates. I took the initiative a few months back when we found out we didn't have certain policies to put all the policies together in an Excel, hyperlink them, and then assign them to board members so they could bring them forward and give updates, because some of them haven't been updated in 20 years. Now that we have a new board member, the next meeting, I'm guessing that board member wants to take some of the policies that were on someone else's, so I did send that out to everyone to look at, and we can reorganize those. I just had a couple things, right? Sorry, I normally don't have that much. I'll start down here. David, do you have any agenda items for the future? You're 22 hours in, so you should have at least 3.
So one that I voiced to a lot of people while campaigning for this position is in becoming much more aware of the financial reimbursement that we see back from DCR. That feels like it will be a repeating challenge for our town financially into the foreseeable future. And I would wager that it's not particularly bright for the other towns around us that are also having those affected by the DCR lands and kneecapping your growth potential, et cetera. I would really like to advocate that this town, through our state rep, through the surrounding towns and their state reps, try to bring something forward to the state. And I don't mean to be adversarial with DCR, because they get their funding through the state, so they have a fixed budget to work within. I would like to see us trying to get signatures on the governor's desk and the policy push forward that sees essentially the beneficiaries of that reservoir, which are the 4 million plus in Boston metro area that drink from it, a modest increase of maybe $1 per person per year, that would fund back into these watershed communities that are adversely affected financially, and to try to get to a more equitable model. I think that if we were to at least try, we might not be successful, but at least try, we show that the town residents that we're trying to come up with alternative solutions to our budget crisis, and things aren't going to get less expensive. They traditionally don't. So I think it's worth the effort of this board to help organize that effort and to be a sounding board for the community, to make sure that we're trying to make sure that their voices are heard all the way to the state capitol.
So what I'm articulating from that is maybe we look at a future agenda item to maybe put together a committee dedicated to moving that forward. Could work.
Yeah.
As a future agenda item, because you didn't get enough tonight, I'm sorry. Vanessa?
I have a few, but I can,
I thought we were waiting on two more.
Oh, sorry,
Oh, do
David,
you
you
have
have two more?
No.
I think I took up the
Yep,
time with
that's-
3,
that
so
was-
we're
that
okay
was-
for now.
okay.
mine are easy, kind of. I think I would just like to re-establish the town survey for October's meeting day and time. You know, we did one this time last year, and we ended up on Monday at 6 PM. Let's do another one, see if we get the same time or something different. Along those same lines, I had a lot of people reach out to me yesterday, confused as to why the election was only 12 to 8. And I understand that this has been done in the past many times. I'm not saying it needs to be done differently. I'm just wondering if we can maybe talk about that. Is there a way that we can either extend it, or maybe we can have the I don't know what the term is, the mail-in ballots be extended to like the day before? I don't, just something that we can try to work around so that people aren't finding out at the last minute that, you know, it's the next day. I had a lot of people say that they couldn't go because they were working during that time. And my third thing is just wondering if everybody on the townwide planning committee has been sworn in, first of all. And if they haven't, or maybe regardless, maybe we consider going to October meeting and reducing the number of people on the board. And I don't want to get rid of the board, but I think it's clear that it's very difficult to get a quorum for 12 people. And I think maybe if we reduce that number, we might have an easier time actually getting things done.
Two of our items, I think we have to send over to the town clerk. So maybe it would be, if you wouldn't mind writing those to Heather, because one of them, local election, I had to go read about this, because I was unsure. And then the second one, we'd have to put together a warrant article for the October meeting to adjust. So, and I'm not doing the survey, so I would leave that to you. All right.
I have one comment.
Yep, go ahead.
To that mail-in ballot, yesterday I did call you.
Yes, you do. No, we don't. Yeah, we do.
One of the town residents did call, and they were asking, how late they can submit the mail-in ballot. So it was allowed by the town clerk until 8 PM on an election day. So maybe, we can put it on the town website. Or maybe the town clerk can put it on the town website. So mail-in ballots are allowed to drop it off at the town ballot box until 8 PM on the election day.
Is that accurate? Can you clarify when mail-in ballots were supposed to be, or ended?
If you had a mail-in ballot, you could drop it off at the town hall in the ballot box till 8 PM on election day.
Okay. I had no idea about that. I thought that it had ended, early voting ended.
Well, there wasn't early voting, it was only mail-in. Early voting is when you come to the ballot, when you come and you do the, when you fill out your ballot ahead of time and leave it there.
Absentee ballot.
Yeah. So you're talking about the absentee mail-in.
So what would be the difference? Like if somebody realizes that they have to work and it's the day of the election, they can print off something online and mail it in?
No, they would have had to have come in and requested that absentee ballot
No,
ahead of,
I think we are talking two different things.
right.
Absentee ballot is different.
Well,
Mail-in ballot is also different. The resident has to request an application, they have to fill it out an application, either for mail-in or absentee. Absentee ballot are for the person who are not available on that day in West Boylston. Mail-in ballot, anyone can ask for it.
So let's ask the
Anyway,
town clerk.
It's not the town clerk.
Yeah, let's have the town clerk come to a meeting and talk about this.
Yep, future, I think that would be great. I mean, you have to come up with something, because you're the only one that had.
All right, fine. I expect some churn in the select board over the next couple of years. We've just had some churn. I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to create some kind of, select board on orientation or onboarding program where we more fully formalize the idea, like, here's some things that you're going to have to know and be able to do the day after you're elected, the subsequent meeting thereafter, and, various and assorted things. So I don't know that that's an agenda item, but that's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head and at a moment's notice.
I will say that the MMA has a very excellent new select board program. It's on my list to send that to David tomorrow.
Thank you.
So that's day 46.
Day
Day 46.
Good.
But making that a more West Boylston, branded is perhaps something that once the new member attends the MMA, they would come back with questions about how those higher level applications are dealt with in the West Boylston scheme of things, and we could go from there.
There's also a Selectboard book, Selectboard book it's called. I've read it, and it was interesting. So one thing I would say is, I'm guessing you haven't had a chance to see the ADA feasibility study that the town did?
Yep,
You did?
I've read
Oh.
it, yeah.
That, I was thinking if you wouldn't mind sending that out. I believe the open space plan actually just finished being updated. I wholeheartedly need a life because I saw that out there, so that might be some good ones. And then just a future agenda item, the park grant, since it's funded for phase 1 and 2. We've never been successful, but I mean,
What the heck?
it's worth another try. I know it's hard to fill out. I'm willing to help write it. I know there other people would help write things to it. Anything we could do to help kind of fund it. And
I was gonna ask if you had applied for a park grant, because I think that's a really excellent funding source.
or Mixter, I think, right? Mixter.
Yeah.
And we got denied, but I wonder if we've never been accepted for one. Maybe they'll give us some, feel bad for us and
Do we get feedback?
fund it.
So if I can ask, do we get feedback when we are denied for one of those was it like criteria based? Was it?
They just,
You
they just
can,
denied.
well,
All I know is I heard they denied. I don't know, because none of us were on it back then.
you can ask for a review session.
Okay.
And can we do that retroactively to prior ones, so we could look at that template and see, what they liked, didn't like, and make sure we don't repeat those same mistakes again?
I think it depends on how long ago you submitted and whether or not the review committees, because what they do when you get a round of grants is they will pull together a review committee. And those individuals are then available to the communities for that feedback. So I think that if it was more than a year ago, I think it would
This
be,
is pre-COVID.
yeah. I think it would be very challenging to pull those particular reviewers back to the
Sure.
table and have them remember West Boylston's project, but,
All right.
yeah.
Well, now that we've gone way over than we normally do,
Is it me?
no, I think it's me. I don't know. Do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you.